Humans are often to me anyway, the most boring part of a setting. However, I feel like they almost always have to be included because they sort of bring the audience in. Like, we know how to relate to a human right away. It's sometimes more difficult to relate immediately to an alien species of some sort. So I was thinking about not having humans in this setting, or maybe just having a smaller humanoid-like species that would be the main relatable race. But I think I'm going to go ahead and include them. I'm not sure I'm going to call them humans. Probably not. Uh, and I think I'm not going to worry about like, you know, I'm going to try to separate. I think like cultures and heritages or bloodlines. I talked to a friend of mine about this. Kildorf is his handle online, and he had the idea. He just mentioned bloodline instead of like race or species, and I actually kind of really dig that. So I think maybe in this setting, I'm going to try to use the word bloodline to sort of indicate the shape of a person's body, and then I'm going to use like a culture separately. So that way, if you want to play, I'm going to use some standard words that you'll recognize. But if you want to play a human barbarian, then the barbarian look and background would be applied to a human. And then you could play a gnome barbarian, and then the barbarian look and background would also be applied to that. So I think I'm going to try that. It's almost like in most games when you pick your race, not most games, but a lot of games, you sort of know what you're going to get. But I think in my setting, I'm going to try to make the class of person really determine how they look and how they feel. That way you can have like a dwarf who was raised in a human village and he doesn't have any of the dwarven stereotypes. So I'm gonna try to do that in the setting, I think. But I'm mostly gonna try to come up with pretty uh, original bloodlines and not rely too much on existing stuff that we're all sort of comfortable with. I mean, I love dwarves and gnomes and goblins more than anything. But I'm going to try not to draw off those too much, or I'm at least going to try to put my own spin on them. So we'll see how that goes. So I've been playing a forest gnome, bear totem, barbarian in Dungeons and Dragons, and I have been really enjoying some of the perks that I get from crossing, my class and my species. So I definitely still want to include that. Like my gnome's able to talk to small animals, and I found that works super well when combined with the barbarian animal skills. And my gnome is able to see in the dark up to 60 feet, I think, or something like that. Maybe it's shorter, but anyway, being able to see in the dark has been fantastic for a barbarian. So I would like to sort of try to include those sort of skills as well. So if I make a species or a bloodline that has a specific ability, I'd like to make that very clear and maintain that. Um, as far as languages go, that's something I really enjoy in games. Is I like having like a racial language, and then also like like thieves can't for the thieves. So I'll probably try to make several and just sort of apply them where I think they will be best applied. I've been working on a language. It's kind of a complicated mess, but I really enjoy how it looks and the idea of how it would function. I'll share it now. So this is my base language. I'm just sort of making it up as I go for fun. But the idea for it is that it's a dual color language. So when you change the color of a word, it changes the meaning of the word. It's not just italics or it's not just bold, but it actually changes the meaning of the word. Another really important idea for this language to me is having words that embed inside of other words. So for instance, this word here means safe, right? And whatever word goes in this space right here is the indicated word. So right now it just means safe, but you're like, well, what is safe? But then if you put like this symbol inside of it, then that means a safe haven or a safe home, something like that. And then if you put this symbol, which means workplace, then it suddenly means it's a safe place to work or it's a safe workplace. I don't have this perfected, of course. This is just for fun, but I really like the idea, And then you might have like a word like this that means like danger, and so if you put this, then it means like maybe you're a mercenary, you work in a dangerous place, or maybe the workplace you're going to is going to be it's going to be dangerous, like most workplaces. Um, anyway, I don't have it 100% worked out, but that's sort of the idea. I also like the idea that maybe there's like this shield shape that every page has in this language, and this here is sort of like the header. So at the bottom of this sort of shield shape, this Aegis-like shape, is like I don't know if I want the language to necessarily go up or backwards or anything like that, from English. Um, but I do really like the idea that you look at the bottom of the page, you see the header, and then it's sort of encompassed by this disc shape here. I think that's really fun. I think it looks cool, which is the main reason I'm doing this. I just started by doodling some stuff, and it got more complicated as it went. And then I made some of these in different colors. And I was like, that looks really cool to me for some reason. And even the idea of someone having a special pen or pencil for this language, where you flip it and write in a different color, and then you flip it back, or something like that, seems really fun to me. So I'm thinking that it's not necessarily going to be red and black. It's going to be one solid color, and then it's going to be an off color. So this could be blue or anything. That it's just that it's in a different color, and that is important to the language. I think visually that'll be pretty fun. So while I do want to go ahead and sketch a couple of humans, I'm going to come up with a name for this species, or this bloodline. I got to remember to use the word bloodline. I think it's really cool. So while for fun, I will try to sketch a couple humans out, but I'm not going to do too much because they're easy to draw. We're all over it. We instantly know. I think what I'm really going to spend time on is exploring the different cultures, and then I'll draw a couple different bloodlines in each culture. I think that'll be the most fun. Also, I was talking to Kildorf about whether species should be allowed to crossbreed, and I almost want to explore a world where there's just none of that, where it just can't happen. A fantasy setting where that just doesn't happen. It'd almost end up being like Mass Effect or Star Wars or something, where you don't see any or many, mixed species. And, some people might feel like you're missing out on being able to explore something, but I also feel like that's been explored, and it's not what I want to do with this setting. I just want to draw some cool alien creatures, put them in armor, and make something fun. So I'm just going to try to keep it simple and inoffensive. I don't want to offend anybody, and just have fun. So I'm going to try to avoid stereotypes, and I guess just have some humans in case somebody wants to be gently introduced. Humans would be the way that they would do that. So thinking about the basic human, I don't see any reason that it needs to be anything like it's like reinventing the wheel. We all know what humans look like, so I'll probably just make some generic strong-jawed humans. They'll come in a variety of colors and shapes. None of those shapes and colors will really matter. And if you want to change how they look and how they behave, then that will be based on the culture that you pick, I think. I used to play a mud. This is really going to show how old I am. A mud is an old text-based video game before we had MMOs and all this multiplayer stuff. And so you could communicate with other people. It was like a chat room, but you had stats and stuff as well. So in this mud, the most important thing in this particular mud was the village that you picked that you were from. That was the most important thing. It determined your class, your skills, almost everything. And I think I would like, and this was back in the 90s, like, that's, I've got some gray. So I think I would just kind of like to try to stay true to that and do that. So, and I actually imagine like if this was a game, the way that you would make your character, at least if characters were sort of randomized, would be that I would make cards, and so there would be a bunch of cards, and that would have like the different bloodlines. You know, again, I'm using some generic names because it's so early, but you'd have dwarf, human, gnome, and you draw that out, and then you also have a separate deck that would be your class. And so, whoops, hang on, I hit a button on my tablet. Okay, so, and then you would have a separate button that would be your class. And I think that would be, let's see if I can get with it's switch displays on me. I got a bunch of displays. There we go. That would be, you'd have two cards. You'd have your portrait in a sense, and then you'd have another sort of portrait that gave you an idea of what you really looked like, and that would be like a barbarian or something like that. You might even go further and have like your class and your culture be separate. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. But again, I just want to have fun and just talk a little bit. So that is my goal with this project. So the shape of your mustache will be determined not by your bloodline, but by where you grew up, or what particular military group you belong to, or what type of farmer you are. So we will see. And I may create languages for all these people. I don't know. I don't know if I will or not. It's awfully fun, at least to have a name of a language, but also that's sort of putting a label on everything, so I may not worry about it too much yet. The whole reason I started this project is because I felt like drawing a map, and I haven't even gotten to that yet. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really cool. Making maps is almost like meditative work to me. I find it very relaxing. It is time consuming. I mean, unless you use some map software, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to do it all by hand. I think in the end it shows. Although I have had a lot of people asking what map software I used or what AI prompt that I used. And that really deflates me a little bit after spending, 300 or 400 hours making a beautiful map and having someone ask some crap like that. But anyway, whatever. So map making software is cool. I will say that, and it's cooler than it's ever been. I remember drawing huge maps and laminating them back in the late 90s, early 2000s when I was in college, and everybody just loved them. I thought they were so cool. And that I haven't really done. I mean, back then I did it with a paintbrush and an ink pen. So digital stuff is just so nice, and it really spoils us in a lot of ways. So, there you are. Again, I'm drawing people for fun basically right now. There's no real plan to it because I don't have any plans for the humans really. I mostly want to draw crazy alien races and maybe even sculpt some in 3D to sort of help. Sometimes I like to do a ZBrush sketch in 3D and then sort of work off of that in 2D, and it just kind of helps me be consistent. And so I'll probably try something like that as well if I think the species is going to be very complicated. I did write a species, or I did make a race of humans for fun a while back that I would really like to include. So maybe I'll rebuild it as a culture. But it's like these paladin type guys who all ride vultures, and they're almost like paladin necromancers. They're not like all gothy or anything though. They're pretty like noble, but they work around and with death a lot, hence the vultures. And just the idea of these noble knights riding on vultures seems... I've always really loved vultures. So I will probably at some point try to build... Maybe when I'm making the map, I'll make a region just for those dudes. Oh, I'm almost sure I will. I'm just thinking about it now. It would be fun to do. So that's something, at least for me, to look forward to. Yeah. So anyway, I've kind of got humans out of the way. I'll come up with a name for them. I'll probably put a series of sounds together, and then I'll use those sounds to make, like... Actually, I think I had a list of sounds somewhere I had made and not used. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, okay. Yes, here it is. Alright, so I like to pick a series of sounds when I'm making a spoken language. Again, this is super lazy, and if you're like really good at language stuff, I'm sorry. I just like to draw things. But my idea for this language was that it used certain sounds. So it used like this sound and this sound. It was real heavy on B's, O's, and R's. I think that there was sort of this sound mixed in, and I would just rearrange these sounds to sort of create words. So I had written out some words here. It sort of looked like this. And the one thing I notice about this is, and again, I know this is just gibberish, but it does sort of start to look like a language because of the repeated letters and sounds and shapes, if you will, that's in the language. And that's just the way I like to make a language. And then if I'm really serious about it, I won't do it this way. I'll be more serious about it. But just for fun. So I think maybe for these guys, I'm going to use this. So like, I'll have to Google this and make sure this word doesn't mean something, because there's so many languages in real life. But maybe like this could be the name of the human race. I don't know, Brunboro. Brunboro. It's easy to say. It's kind of different. I'll think about it. I'll see. It'd be kind of cool to stick with it and try to make it work. So, and then I'm going to try to come up with a new creative name for every other species afterwards, every other bloodline afterwards. Okay, so for my second bloodline, because the humans, we got them done, right? Came up with a name for them, got them sketched. So, for my next bloodline, I think I want to do a small, super stout, the dwarf race, right? But I don't want to be dwarven. So I'm thinking of maybe like trying to combine elements of a bat with elements of a ram, maybe into a small, squat, strong, sturdy, stable, possibly cave-dwelling species. I don't know. This is just off the top of my head. I haven't used ZBrush in forever, but I think this is a good opportunity to use it. I need a refresher. And I'm not going to try to do anything fancy. You'll see just how terrible I do at this. But to just sort of get a shape of the head for this bloodline. I'm trying to remember what my favorite and most simple tools that I used were. I used clay buildup, I think it was called. Let's see. Clay buildup right here. I use this for most of my sculpting. So in order to like make a nose, I would use this oftentimes to build. Let's see, right alt is what I use to do indentations, and I think shift to smooth. Yep, so those were like the main things I used. That's probably why I can remember, is because I did so little. So if I wanted to make like a nose shape, let me find a reference of a bat. Let's see here. Okay, I've got a reference of a bat up on my other monitor. So make a nose, but I don't want to just completely copy, how a bat's face looks, but just to get a kind of an idea of how this species might look. I want them to have kind of large eyes because nocturnal or cave dwelling, possibly. Let's see, maybe, I don't know. I'll do the art first and then decide where they go, I think. Also, I'm gonna need to Let's see, there was a tool for moving large amounts. Here we go, I think this is it. There we go. You can really shape out a head like this, I remember. Let's see. Sort of big eyebrows would be sort of neat. And then, let's see, let's pull the neck up. Well, we want the neck to be thick. Maybe the neck should come out sort of like Juggernaut from the X-Men to really drive home that you just can't topple these guys. Definitely want to have some cool hair, so I'm not going to worry about the back of the head too much. Give them a crazy long mane, I think, will be best. And then I would like some sort of ram's horns and maybe some ears. Like, let's see. I can't quite remember how to do new geometry. There was somewhere over here. There was a way subtool maybe. I may have to look this up real quick. There's a way to make other shapes and then you can manipulate their shapes independently. I'm going to go figure that out and then I'll be right back. Okay, I think I figured it out. I was so close to remembering how to do it. So under the subtool, go to append and then just pick a new piece. I guess my pen is too sensitive. Here we go. So that gives us a different layer that we can mess with without damaging the other one. Again, I'm not trying to do anything too fancy here. I just want to... Oh, it seems I turned off my mirror somehow. Excellent. Looks like it's the X button. X button in ZBrush is the mirror. So, I just wanted to like quickly be able to put some bat ear shapes here without feeling like I'm going to mess everything up. And then whenever I draw later, I will draw more. I'll just draw them better. So let's see here. Let's flatten the front a little bit because the bats that I'm looking at, their ears sort of face forward. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, so muscled up, strong bat species. Now, I wanted to give them horns also, but I'm a little worried. Like I was so sure earlier, but I'm not sure that the horns will look nice with the ears. Let's see. If they did have horns, it came out curved back. Again, I'm completely just messing this up. I'm just trying to think of how I could give these guys horns and ears without it being like too much going on. It's kind of cool just having a solid vent piece like that across the front though. That's kind of neat. Kind of makes me think of a dinosaur or something. Actually, I don't hate that. Just like that. And then I could put some ridges and stuff I'll draw in later. It's interesting. And then the mouth, an exciting mouth shape would be nice. Damn Standard is a really nice tool. It lets you draw indentations really quickly. I like it a lot. Let's see, like that maybe, and then the eye areas like so. Maybe they have a little vent that runs down the side of their nose. That's kind of cool. Yeah, okay, and then we'll put some teeth and stuff in here. That'll be fun. Like, I know it looks like a mess right now, but I think if you play with tools like this, and you could do it with clay or something even in like person, I think you'll find how quickly you can use it to turn it into something useful. I'm going to save this. I'm going to take some screenshots and take them straight over into Photoshop and show you what I mean. This is fantastic. ZBrush crashed as I was saving it, and I lost that work. But I did record it, so I'll just take some screenshots of the recording. However, I did lose the original file, so I guess I would have to re-sculpt it if I wanted to do that again. But I think I got enough. We'll see. I have no qualms about calling out software whenever it costs artists work. I mean, I was hitting save. There was no reason to crash there. So anyway, it's fine. ZBrush is weird like that, but it's also a lot of fun. I really should learn how to sculpt in Blender and just be done with it. But I've not made the time yet to do that. So I did grab a couple screenshots of my work that I had just recorded for this video. So I'm just going to kind of play with these, and I usually like to use a bright color when I'm doing this. It's essentially tracing, but it's you're tracing your own work, and it's just there to sort of help you keep your perspective in check. So we know we want this to be a cave-dwelling, bat-like species, and we want them to be real tanks. They don't worry about gold or collecting gems or any of that stuff, because again, that is just way too easy. And we're all too used to it. I think I like the idea of this like split cranial bone thing here. Like sort of like this. And almost being sharp towards the back, I think, would be kind of neat. Really like heavy set, deep set eyes and heavy eyebrows for like expressions and stuff. But you know, it's good to remember also that you don't have to do that with every single creature you invent, but boy, it's definitely a go-to for me. Let's see here. We've got our bat ears. I think that's going to look real cool. Just no reason to overcomplicate it right now. Just keep it simple and clean. Put some damage on this cranial piece. I was thinking about giving them like real long, thick hair as well. That's sort of almost like a mane. It could sort of protect their throat from, well, like a lion. Like if they fight, sort of protect their throat, keep their throat safe, maybe keep them warm if they live in a mountain climate. Kind of small eyes, small piercing eyes. Let's see here. Small, simple, flat nose, because if these guys fight all the time, they don't want pieces that are going to get tore off, like sort of like a Tasmanian devil. You know, they have little tiny ears because they're going to get ripped off if they're not. And these guys are like that too. So the only things poking out of them are bone, or for being able to see in the dark, these ears. So let's see, how are they starting to look? Kind of more lion-like than I expected, but I don't hate it. I mean, the beard just immediately, to me, screams lion, and I guess this line in front of the mouth here as well, at the top of the lip, kind of does. I pictured him having a bunch of little tiny teeth and an underbite. I think that would be really cool. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not hating it. And for my first try, let's see if I can replicate it one more time with this bottom guy, this bottom portrait here, that I have to resculpt again if I plan on doing any more of this. Although if I draw them enough, you'll eventually learn the shorthands and not have to worry about relying on primitives to keep your stuff in check. Let's see here. Do like so. Let's make him a little more cocky. Let's make this one smirking and see if it reads. And his bone ridge. Like so. I need to look at some pictures of bat ears from the side in order to do that properly. Kind of like the pointed chin and then a sharp little jaw here and a little bit of a lip shape there. Then the mane. Let's see, how does he look from that side up? Kind of ended up looking a little more noble, I guess because I actually drew his iris and pupil. Yeah, that helps quite a bit. Leaving those out though did look pretty cool. Kind of made him look magical. Put little dots to make him look crazy. Let's see how they look if they're like a solid dark color. Does that make them look creepy or? Don't hate that. Kind of looks like, you know, kind of looks for some reason sort of like a bat creature. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so I'm not, I don't hate these guys. I was thinking about, you know, I always think of the name and the culture and stuff as I'm drawing them. Maybe, maybe some E, like a long E sounds, sort of like a bat, or like a squeak, like flecky or something like that, maybe. Let's see, I will have to look this up and make sure, again, that it doesn't mean something in another language. Yeah, and it doesn't, you know, it doesn't sound like a strong name, so maybe that's kind of cool. Maybe it's like you expect them to be these flighty beings and they turn out to be powerhouses. I don't know. I have to think about the shape of their body as well and what kind of silhouette that makes. Let's see. Because, you know, you have your standard dwarf shape. Your pint-sized juggernaut roll. But then you've got these cool bat ears. You've got a mane. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, and they've got that ridge too, which from the front sort of looks like this. Wouldn't want to get headbutt with it. It's got kind of an edge on it. I don't know, I think it'll work. What they need is a tail. Having a big long tail and sort of a hunched over demeanor might be something really cool to do. So if they're sort of like this all the time and then they've got this tail. Whoops. I'm hitting Control T, by the way, to change the shape of stuff, but like, I only do it when I'm being messy or experimenting. You don't want to blow stuff up when you're working on final work because it will get all blurry and yucky and everybody can tell you did something weird. But when you're just playing around like this, so kind of like a kangaroo almost, because the kangaroo uses its tail to stabilize. Then they've got their mane, kind of an underbite. All right, I'm gonna keep working on these guys. This is pretty interesting, and I'm not hating it. So I will probably, I don't want to drone on and on, and I still feel a little bit like I'm on the spot when I'm working and being recorded. So I'll probably work on these guys a little bit more on my own and then make another video, possibly later on, showing that work. So, and let's see, throw black over that and then do like hue or color over here, and then on on its own layer, make a black layer or gray or white or whatever. Then hit color and it'll instantly make it black and white. You don't lose your red. So that gives you kind of, I mean, I don't know. It instantly feels better to me. I think this is pretty cool. All right. Thank you and take care.